to find common ground by collaborating and working towards bringing better technology solutions, innovative products to the world.
Show investors or customer have marketing and commercializing their invention products in the market.
As large gatherings are no longer encouraged, I'm happy to see that MTE has gone virtual. This will allow more innovators to promote their innovation and share their ideas with the world.
It has been nurturing the innovation culture among scientists, researchers, students, and startup founders in order for them to transform their ideas into business ventures.
There may come a day in the near future when we have overcome this crisis, but our innovations may be able to assist another country in their fight against the pandemic.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to be invited by the organizers, Protem Group and UITM to say a few words of encouragement and congratulate all the participants of the Malaysia Technology Expo 2021 Sustainable Development Goals International Innovation Award. SDGs is about making the world a better and safer place for all, leaving no one behind. So I hope you will always innovate with sustainable development as the end goal and contribute towards ending poverty, protecting the planet, and ensure that by 2030 all people enjoy peace and prosperity.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to MTE 2022 Virtual. Do enjoy our next knowledge sharing session.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and very good morning to all. First of all, allow me to thank UTM and the organizing committee of Malaysian Technology Expo 2022 for inviting me for this webinar series or sharing session, embracing the new norm and moving to new frontier. With theme today will be accelerating human capital development for an advanced nation. With this theme in mind, I will focus more on two things. One is basically on the innovation and commercialization, and second one, I will talk about how we, Malaysia, our nation's readiness in embracing Industry 4.0. Okay, I will focus more on how to prepare the human resource, human capital for the innovation and commercialization. First of all, let me try to remind everyone here what will be the main issue in terms of our readiness for innovation and commercialization in the perspective of university and research institution. Yeah. Okay. The main issue that we could see is actually lack of knowledge or lack of innovation processes, capacity and capability. Yeah. And the problem statement would be, yeah, government spends so much on actually the budget for the innovation and R&D. Unfortunately, the commercialization success is quite minimum. Yeah, why? Yeah, why? Because there is some issue in terms of recognizing the human capital at that particular universities or research institution. Especially, we know that there is position known as technology transfer officer or incubator manager. Unfortunately, it was not actually fully recognized by our public service department or also by some university administrative positions. Yeah. Okay. And we got to admit the fact that incubation and commercialization is the key to ensure the innovation could be actually happen, and it become the key economic success, and also they become the key so-called advancement to the societal well-being. Yeah, because let me caution against. Yeah, innovation process is not easy. It's very long and tedious. Yeah? Especially when you talk about product development life cycle from ideation to commercialization. But even prior to that, the university professor, the researchers, the faculty staff, they need to be advised, they need to be stand corrected what is commercialization all about. It got to be understood with it, whether it is based on the policy, simply said it is from farm to table, lab to market, products. So, but what is actually commercialization in the perspective of government in encouraging the innovation and commercialization? It's now become policy. It's now become KPI. It's become a revenue generation activity. That is what needed to be made known to this so-called staff or academician that been given a task as technology transfer officer or incubator manager. Yeah, and they must also very much aware that it is for wealth creation, it is for putting the innovation or invention to use, and most importantly is to contribute to the societal well-being. But bear in mind, the process is not easy, it's very long and tedious process. So this technology transfer officer, the incubator manager, must know every step, every activities at every stage, from ideation to proof of concept to prototype to testing to launch the MVP, the minimal viable product, to do the upscaling to go to market. So very important what need to be done at the ideation. For example, the ideation must start from the industry problem statement, not from your own subject domain expert. Yeah, when you do POC, you got to make sure that this customer desirability, financial availability, and technology feasibility being actually fully evaluated. When you are doing the prototype, it got to be made known to this technology transfer officer or the researchers or the professor that whether you want to do it in-house or you want to outsource. It's very important because it is also a stage where IP need to be filed or your innovation need to be protected. And move on to the testing. This technology transfer officer or incubator manager must understand that product need to undergo the testing of two stages of alpha and beta. I mean, that is the tricky part, yeah? Where alpha is more just product testing for you to see the specification, the function, the engineering design, the IP, and so on, where the beta testing, where you must have the environmental ready working prototype and to get your product or you got your services to be tested at the real within the real environment, where it is a situation where you can actually seek feedback, you can do refinement to your innovation before you move on to the upscaling. For the technology transfer officer or incubator manager to understand the whole processes where the end game is go to market. And when you go to market, for those with IP, the knowledge on licensing, joint venture, sell outright, spin-off, or you want to go to own market by creating your own company is very important. Yeah? And when you go to market, if prior to go to market, this technology transfer officer or incubator manager or the staff that are actually attached to the ICC or innovation commercialization must understand what will the upscaling evaluation, what will the upscaling process needed. The 6M analysis, machine, man, method, material, for example, it must be done so that you will basically move on into the upscaling of full commercialization correctly. That is from the perspective of actually human resource, knowledge, and capacity to do the innovation and commercialization. But what more important is that this technology transfer officer or the incubator manager must be given fully recognition, must be given fully attention in terms of their training for their enhancing their capacity and capability. For example, the TTO, at least send them for training on the technology transfer. There is training done by INMA, the Innovation Technology Managers Association, on this. Yeah, there are incubator manager training and certification. So they must be fully equipped with this skill and knowledge. That is on the human capital to accelerate innovation and commercialization. If not, we will keep on having the issue of spend so much on R&D, spend so much on protecting the IP, but commercialization or taking your product to market will be very, very minimal, or success is not there, where innovation cannot be seen in the market. Yeah, that is the issue of innovation and commercialization that we need to address from the perspective of human capital. Now, nation to prepare our human capital, or to prepare our talent, to prepare our SMEs to embrace the industry 4.0. Yeah, change is inevitable. Yeah, it means that we need to embrace the industry revolution or industry 4.0. For SMEs, they are big in numbers, but they are still very low in terms of their economic contribution. Yeah, in terms of the GDP contribution, in terms of export figure, in terms of employment creation, these SMEs are very low. Yeah, what are among the issues of these SME when they are about to enhance their capability through embracing the industry 4.0? The SME combination, for example, productivity, efficiency, cost of doing business, human resource capital management. They have very lack of capacity and capability to pay good human resource, technology and innovation. This is among the so-called issue and predicament of SMEs to embrace the industry 4.0. Yeah, but again, let me reiterate that change is inevitable. Yeah, the way of doing business is changes, the way entrepreneurship mindset is changes, human capital or human resource management is changes. Even the bigger thing, the technology innovations is changing every day, and the way we sell, sales and marketing promotion, the way we manage our finances are basically changing every day. So SMEs need to embrace the changes. Yeah, and SMEs especially the small medium enterprises, they need to move on the ladder from the local champion, yeah, to the at least national champion, or to become the regional champion. But the SME must understand, yeah, the industry revolution is something real. We can see the changes. We are now cities are moved on to become smart city. We have smart school. We have smart factory operating by using the so-called smart manufacturing, by having the closed circuit, by having the combination of cyber kind of thing in their factory. We have smart hospital and so on. So changes in the perspective are real happening. I mean, changes in the perspective of people, process, and technology. Yeah. Okay. Industry 4.0. If I were to do recall and recap, you must understand it was starting with Industry 1.0 way back in late 18th centuries. Then we move on to the Industry 2.0. We move on to the Industry 3.0, where we use let me do some recall and recap. Industry 1.0, we use water and steam to power our mechanized production. Industry 2.0, we use electric power to create mass production. We move on to Industry 3.0, we use electronic and information technology to automate our production. But now it's Industry 4.0, where building on the third characterized of the fusions of technology that are merging the physical and digital, and the biological spheres, the Internet of Things. This is something new thing, that our human capital, our graduate must embrace, But what's the issue? The issue is that it was commonly said the mismatch between the university curriculum and the industry requirement. In order to meet the smart industry requirement, or intelligent industry requirement, or smart factory requirement, or smart manufacturing requirement. Yeah. But let me stress again, the Industry 4.0 is actually the subset of Industrial Revolution 4.0, because the Industrial Revolution 4.0 is the overarching, the whole of our ways of doing things, ways of doing business, and so on, where we focus on the 9 or 11 technology pillars to actually drive us to the new evolutions of technology. Yeah, when I said about the 9 technology pillars, for example, Our talent must understand what is cloud computing, additive manufacturing, augmented reality, big data, autonomous robots, simulation, system integration, IoT or Internet of Things, and cybersecurity. This is something new, but it must be within the knowledge of our graduate in order to actually push or pursue to the our nation to embrace the industry 4.0. In terms of the technology impact, we can see, for example, the cloud computing is the one that really impacted us on to the big data and so on and so on. So this is something. But let us focus now in terms of our readiness. Yeah, where is our readiness? Yeah, some industry are already in the process of moving towards industry 4.0 or becoming industry 4.0 compliant, but some are not. Especially the SMEs. Yeah. So some of the challenges faced by SMEs, semi-automated operation, still they don't have the in terms of good data. The ability of data is the issue. The availability of skilled manpower, again, this is what I mean by the mismatch of the graduate. The ability of skilled manpower, yeah, investment capabilities, knowledge and awareness, yeah. And for this session today, I would like to actually stress that for our nation, for our SME, for our industry to embrace 4.0, bear in mind, there will be some new job opportunity, but at the same time, there will be jobs that are no longer needed. Yeah. All right. For example, we never thought that now we need to have more industrial data scientists. We need to have more robot coordinator or supervisor. We need to have IT or IT solution architect. We need to have the industrial UI and UX or user interface and user experience expert. We need to have the AR, VR expert in our factory. Yeah, there will be job again. I will stress again and again and again that there will be job no longer needed. Yeah, despite the new job being created. Yeah, the production operator, the QC might not be needed anymore. The management supervisor might not be needed anymore. So here, the university and the training center has greater role to play in order to avoid the mismatch of the industry requirement and the curriculum offered at the university. Yeah. So again, I will try to stress here in terms of building up our talent to focus on communication, creativity, collaboration, and critical thinking. Yeah, and these are some challenges faced by our industry. Awareness. Yeah, industries claim that they are not aware of the industry 4.0, but actually their attitude and mindset. Governance. Yeah, because sometimes our own government policies or industry policy and incentive are not clear to the industry player, especially the SME. The ecosystem, the support ecosystem is not there. For example, the strong connectivity, investment, yeah, capability to adopt changes among the SMEs are still very much behind. Yeah. So again, let me reiterate or let me stress, with embracing industry 4.0, there are opportunities like better operation, new product and services. But of course, with the opportunities come the challenge. A challenge to serve faster, challenge to address the client needs, to challenge of challenging supply availability, that kind of thing. But there will be driving factors, behind it. You can go global now. Competition become irrelevant if you really can embrace the industry 4.0 and embrace the whatever the solution. Threat is becoming obsolete. Yeah, opportunities, I'll just stress that we need to have education transformation. Threat is becoming obsolete. Yeah, opportunities, I'll just stress that we need to have education transformation. We need to have more talent, value creation, and support of innovation. And also, we need to focus on job creation, not to focus on a job being so-called eliminated. And we must focus on conducive environment for well-being. That is among the opportunities. But at the same time, we can see the vulnerability of this embracing the industry 4.0 from the perspective of people, process, and technology. let me focus on just the people. We can see that shrinking and displacement of workforce, educate talent, challenges to attract and retain, especially through to the SMEs, because they have good capital resources to pay handsomely to the talent, and income inequality as a result of the industrialization. This is common. Now we have the user interface engineers that can earn 6,000-7,000, and we have now the the disparity of income between the production workers with the expert are getting bigger and bigger. That is one issue and challenges. But of course, by adopting the Industry 4.0, we have an increase in flexibility, increase in productivity, efficiency. We can reduce the time to market, and most importantly, we can enhance the quality of product and services. And there will be more opportunity of R&D and C activities. But most importantly, it must relate. It must coordinate. It must be coordinated correctly with development of new skill and talent globally, so that by embracing Industry 4.0, we can have cheaper, better, and faster solutions. Finally, let me just on the human capital kind of development for an advanced nation and to sustain our so-called nation. I will just state this clearly. Upskilling and reskilling existing and future labor pool need to be at the heart of Malaysian transformation. Let me repeat this statement again. Upskilling and reskilling existing and future labor pools need to be at the heart of Malaysia's transformation. It's not just a government duty, but to all those industries and SMEs, to government of department, this is become our equal responsibility that we must focus on training, detrain, and retrain constantly. With that, I end up my talk. Thank you very much.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh dan salam sejahtera. The topic of my presentation today is on embracing the new norm and moving towards new frontiers, sustainable development goals. It has been more than 2 years since our country has been hit by COVID-19. The pandemic has so far not only revealed our agility in responding to the crisis, but the weaknesses of our health system and the profound implication in health, economic progress, and social cohesion. In November 2021, Elon University and Pew Research Center, USA, has released a report that predicted the new norm by 2025, of which, according to them, will be far more technology-driven, presenting more big challenges in the wake of COVID-19 outbreak. The report predicts that sweeping societal change will make life mostly worse for most people, as greater inequality, rising oppression, and rampant misinformation take hold in the wake of COVID-19. Still, a portion believe life will be better in a tele-everything world where workplaces, healthcare, and social activity improve. Whenever a pandemic sweeps across a society, it has the potential to upset the vital structures such as health system and medical treatment, economic life, socio-economic and ethnic relations, basic institutional arrangement, communities, and daily family life. As increasing portion of the population become more reliant on digital connection for job, education, healthcare, everyday commercial transaction, and vital social contacts, the depth of their relationship with technology will rapidly expand as a result of this new norm. Many people predict that the deep changes will happen in several ways as we embrace the new norm as coming to the frontier of tele-everything. According to the researchers at McKinsey & Company, as the highly connected and technology savvy move further ahead of others who have less access to digital tools and sometimes less training or talent for using them, while technological development kills certain manual and traditional occupation, economic inequality will continue to increase drastically. This, in part, is hastened by unequal development goals of the past and abject inequalities across the globe. As the ability of major technology companies to leverage their commercial advantages and processes such as artificial intelligence rises without constraints, there will be an erosion in the privacy and autonomy of the technology users. Again, this will be worsened by remnants of the old norm that accorded uncontrolled powers to private companies to carry out their commercial activities without a care to the world. Moreover, as authoritarian and subversive communities undertake information warfare against their challenges, the spread of disinformation will be multiplied. Lies and hate speech continue to be weaponized in order to propagate biases and fears. The substantial harm that will be done to social stability and cohesiveness is worrying, as well as lessen the chance of rational discourse and evidence-based policy making. At the same time, there is optimism that changes brought about by the COVID-19 may yet improve the life of major segment of the human population as a result of the development that include but are not limited to the following. Firstly, as criticism of present economic arrangement and capitalism gain popularity and policy makers' attention, new changes targeted at ethnic justice and social economic fairness need to be implemented. Secondly, as more flexible work from home job arrangements become permanent and societies get accustomed to them, this will improve the quality of life for many families and employees in all economic sectors. Thirdly, the advancement of technologies in virtual and augmented reality, artificial intelligence, and machine learning will be able to help people to live smarter, safer, and more productive life, often aided by so-called smart systems in critical sectors such as education, healthcare, and community living. What I have mentioned so far illustrate both problems and limitations together with solution and possibility that might present themselves to us as the new norm become our day-to-day conceived normal. What is very clear is that as we move head-on to face new frontiers like tele-everything, we must at this present moment set development goals for the future that we wish are sustainable, equitable, and achievable. This is not just to ensure that we do not repeat the errors and mistakes of the past, but more importantly, to make certain that we'll be able to accelerate fair and just human development as we in Malaysia are moving towards developed and advanced nation status. The Most Honorable Prime Minister of Malaysia recently stated that the transformation towards an environmentally, socially, and governance-oriented economy and society, or ESG, requires a shift in various aspects of management, administration, and the mindset of policy making. This is crucial for us to be able to pass on a sustainable nation aspiration to future generation in terms of job opportunities that will be generated. Malaysia must be prepared to create an ecosystem that is able to generate work activities and job market that are in line with the demands and needs towards an ESG-friendly economy and society. Hence, the nation education system will be tapped into to focus more on this aspect of ESG. This is also where the higher education curriculum, including TVET educations, need to be improved to meet the needs of these future-oriented job. In rising to the ESG challenge, as proposed by the Most Honorable Prime Minister to meet the targets in the Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, many, if not all, Malaysian higher education institutions have implemented various initiatives even before the global pandemic hit our country. The Ministry of Higher Education and the Department of Higher Education in particular have been monumental in overseeing and driving this initiative hands in hand with the local higher education institution, both public and private. In this regard, Education for Sustainable Development, or ESD, is put forward as the main enabler in achieving the United Nations SDG goals. Subsequently, we need to consolidate our strength and optimize the resources of expertise in higher education institutions towards a balance of growth and sustainability in environmental, societal, and economic matters. At this present time, the ministry is moving to the next phase of strengthening and consolidating ESD initiative at universities and colleges through a coordinated mechanism for the monitoring of ESD initiative in local higher education institutions. The 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development is made up of 17 Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs, that are interconnected and that incorporate wider economic, societal, environmental consideration in equal measures. It is due to this that expertise of local higher education institutions need to be tapped into to ensure that Malaysia is able to achieve all SDG goals and not just education for sustainable development. Our local higher education institutions have risen to the challenges in a proactive and sustained manner. UPM in particular is currently ranked #1 in UI Green Metric World University ranking that measures campus sustainability effort based on UI Green Metric and SDG. And in 2021, it focuses on universities' effort to continue their sustainability programs and policies while coping with the COVID-19 pandemic. UPM Green Initiative are to focus on healthy and clean environment, green campuses, and green campus lifestyle. On the other hand, UTM's effort on sustainability is divided into phases as outlined in its campus sustainability governance framework. Low campus or net campus master plan, ecosystem resilient, zero waste and sustainable procurement, health and well-being, localization, SDG localization master plan, and then networking and partnership are among the programs are currently being implemented at UTM. In addition, USM has leveraged on its status as Regional Center of Expertise, or RSC, on education for sustainable development. The university is working tirelessly with key stakeholders to bring about changes for sustainability at the community level. Its network includes partners from the public, education, and business sectors who work together to develop and implement innovative ESD projects. Eco Campus Initiative covers 8 programs, namely landscape and biodiversity management, waste management, water management, energy management, transportation management, green procurement, education management, and change management. Among the projects are as listed on the slides. UKM is far leading in implementing the SDG initiative in campus. Various programs are taking place at UKM currently to achieve 16 out of 17 SDG goals. For example, for SDG number 3, they implement rainwater harvesting at Unku Omar College as well as the golf club. For SDG Goal 7 on affordable and clean energy, UKM has installed solar panel system at their admin building. For University Technology Mara or UiTM, they are now anchoring and aligning all their research and innovation initiative to the United Nations SDGs. This has helped UiTM to move up the international ranking of universities against the SDGs. For the International Islamic University Malaysia, or UIA, its initiative include working together with universities, for example, Leuphana University of Lüneburg and USM to develop a measurement mechanism in higher education for sustainable development through sustainability project. Upon successful implementation of many SDG related projects at their campus, such as Edible Green, Energy Saving, Radiant Eco-Bag Project, and others, UM aspiration to humanizing education through Maqasid Sharia and sustainable development is well on the way. Indeed, these are the new frontiers that Malaysia is heading to. Due to the new normal, other Malaysia higher education institutions also continue to work on their own education for sustainable development projects within the larger context of the United Nations SDG. For educators and stakeholders in Malaysian education, Sustainable Development Goal 4 or SD4 is of utmost importance due to the fact that it is also positioned as the education goal. To ensure an inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all, and in the process of accelerating human capital development towards the status of advanced nation, Malaysia must aim for the quality education at all levels of the formal education. At the Ministry of Higher Education, we have aligned our Malaysia Education Blueprint 2015 to 2025 so that it is actually in line with the SDG 4. As we all know, education is a fundamental right as well as a force for long-term growth and peace. For every objective and in 2030 agenda for sustainable development to be achieved, education is required to equip citizens with the knowledge, skills, and values that will allow them to live in dignity, create meaningful life experience, and make a positive contribution to the society. Tragically, across the globe, it is estimated that 750 million individuals are illiterate, which contributes to poverty and marginalization as we see today, but these are remnants of the past. In the new norm or next norm, we need to ensure all students get access to high quality education that is inclusive, egalitarian, and encourage lifetime learning. Access to education is essential for understanding the world in which we live. Young people will gain the capacity to listen, critically reflect on their surrounding, and make educated decisions about their life as a result of receiving a high quality education. Furthermore, we must work to enhance the infrastructure of higher education institutions, expand the number of training and vocational possibilities accessible via high-end technical and vocational education and training, or TVET, and raise the number of qualified instructors available to provide more conducive learning environment. Taking technical and vocational education and training, or TVET, as a case in point, the integration of sustainable development goals into vocational education as espoused by the Most Honorable Prime Minister of Malaysia and Honorable Minister of Higher Education will help our younger population to develop the knowledge, skills, attitude, and behaviors necessary to confront the problems of the 21st century. To reiterate, many of the other SDG will not be achieved until we improve SDG 4. Quality education enables individuals to escape the cycle of poverty. It also contributes to the reduction of inequality, the attainment of gender equality, and enable individuals to live a healthier and more sustainable existence. In addition, it is crucial in the promotion of tolerance for the creation of peaceful communities at a time of geopolitical turbulence, like what is happening in Yemen and Ukraine. Thus, the provision of self-learning spaces for our young population to develop and execute their ideas to contribute to the achievement of all the sustainable development goals, as well as the integration of this concern into curriculum and extracurricular activities as related to SDG 4 is of utmost importance. As we embrace the new norm and move towards challenging yet exciting frontiers, the goals highlighted above serve to guide us, to guide our action today, tomorrow, and until the year 2030. Education is one of the most potent and well-tested instruments to engineer sustainable development. We must now strive to give equitable access to inexpensive technical and vocational training, erase gender and wealth gap, and ensure that each and every Malaysian, young and old, has access to high quality higher education as the whole world works towards achieving inclusive and higher education for every single citizen in society. The world can and will become a better place for all of us. With that, thank you so much for the opportunity given to me to deliver this speech. And also thank you to all the members, to all the organizing committee for organizing this important event. Thank you so much.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and also very good morning. Thank you to the organizers of MTE 2022 Malaysia Technology Expo for inviting me to speak. It's a great pleasure to be here to share with all of you, on the topic of research impact through collaboration, commercialization, and engagement. So what I would like to do is take you on a journey of our little experience pushing through the agenda of research impact in the university, and at the end of the presentation, we hope you would be able to learn and experience and hopefully be inspired through our short journey and little experience on pushing the research impact agenda at the university. Now, this short journey that we've had, what triggered it was probably sometime back in 2018 and 2019, when there was a lot of talks and discussion about how universities should be striving in making impact. And later in 2019, THE, the Times Higher Education, started to introduce the THE University Impact Rankings, which did not look only at the journal publications, but also looked at how universities in particular, very broadly speaking, from its teaching and learning activities, research activities, outreach activities, and several other activities that the university undertakes, that would eventually have some impact on society. And the measurement really was through the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, which I believe has been embraced globally in terms of our aim and targets of wanting to make impact across 17 different areas, from alleviating poverty all the way to peace and justice. Now, back home, we see in Malaysia how the Ministry of Science Technology, with the collaboration with Academy Sciences of Malaysia and Monash University in Malaysia, introduced in 2021 the My STIE framework, My Science Technology Innovation and Engineering framework, which guided the rest of the nation on several focus areas with respect to science and technology and how they have been envisioned to have impact in several focus areas, specifically in the socio-economic drivers. So how I would put this little diagram is looking at how various science and technology drivers from 5G and 4G to sensor technology can contribute to energy, how the advanced materials and advanced intelligence systems can contribute to medical and healthcare, contribute to smart cities and transportation, and so on and so forth. So here we can see that each of the different um, science and technology areas driving towards making an impact in several socio-economic sectors. Now, before we go deeper, I believe it would only be wise to understand or be on the same page. What does it mean to have impactful research? Yeah, and how one would put it is to see impact as the ability to generate an outcome through a set of activities. So how do we go about this is three different or related components. Yeah. Number one is to take our underpinning research that has been done in the university, whether it is in 5G and 6G wireless communications, whether they are on knowledge management, or whether they are on microeconomics, put together experiences while engaging with stakeholders, yeah, working with communities, working with government agencies, engaging with industries, yeah, and understanding from that engagement, understanding their needs to work on several activities that eventually leads to a strong demonstrable effect on their understanding, on their behavior, on the beliefs and their system. And put those together, you have impactful research. So the very important component that I'd like to stress here is engaging with the stakeholders, understanding what are the pain points and how that would go together with the research that we do at the university, and leading to a set of activities that would have influence over how things are done, over thinking processes, over mindset, over policies, and so on and so forth, that would lead to a clear impact, whether in society, in organizations, and so on. So how do we go about bringing this impact? There's a lot of talks also about the theory of change, which if I can put it simply, is to begin with the end in mind. So first step in this theory of change is really about understanding, is about identifying a long-term goal, a real a problem in society that one would like to dive and seek a solution and solve. Yeah. And if one was to begin with the end in mind and work backwards to identify what are the key challenges to achieve this goal, and go even backwards to then identify the actions required to address these challenges, and chunk them up into smaller activities, yeah, smaller activities, much more achievable, that can be monitored, that can be tracked by way of developing indicators to mark the progress towards that goal. So a long-term goal could be, elevating poverty, and identifying what are the key challenges to elevating poverty, and chunk it down into several activities that can be done, that can be measured, all cohesively moving towards elevating poverty. So you can think about it as input that leads to several activities that brings about output and eventually outcome that will lead to an impact in society. Now, in doing so, we believe that the approach, this is in our journey, that it should not be confined to small and isolated projects, but rather these activities must be cohesive in such a way that they must be clustered in a program that is broad enough, large enough, that has this overall objective of, in our earlier example of elevating poverty. Yeah. So in a program that is, focusing on elevating poverty, would have several projects, and the program is led by some senior academics in the university, and in the team there will be several other academics, yeah, and lecturers, senior lecturers who work with them to run these individual projects, seeking funding from various stakeholders, from industry, from the government, from society, through crowdfunding perhaps, and collaborating with other universities, trying to together run research projects, run activities that will eventually incrementally leads towards achieving the overall goal. Of course, at the same time, we have this opportunity to develop talents working in this area. I guess, in a program that looks into elevating poverty, would have undergraduate and postgraduate students working at capstone projects, final year projects, of course, masters and PhD that look into various approaches to elevating poverty, from econometrics to microfinances, etc., etc. That all brings about various outputs leading to outcomes and eventually making impact. Yeah. So this is how we envisage that journey, yeah, of making research impact by way of collaborating with others and working through a program, also collaborating internally. So a bit of content, I guess, looking at the MySTIE 1010 framework, one can look at all these different socioeconomic drivers which have been identified by the team, from Academy Science Malaysia, whose members come from various universities, from industry, and also Monash University Malaysia, looking through what are the key socioeconomic drivers for Malaysia in the next 10 years that is important for our research to be able to make impact and pushing the country into a developed nation. So it ranges from energy to business and financial services, culture, arts and tourism, all the way to education and environment, biodiversity. So if you can imagine or reflect on the previous slide on research programs, you would have people working in various areas from 5G and 6G to policy studies to legal studies that would lead impact in, say, culture, arts and tourism. Yeah. Of course, this, as I mentioned, the 10 science and technology drivers, some of the areas that has been identified as the key areas of interest, of strength, and of potential for the country. We have enough mass to move these different science and technology drivers, but they must be framed towards making an impact in the 10 socio-economic drivers, as I was mentioning earlier. Now, so moving on, if we just go a bit deeper, there are some examples from the document. One can download this My STIE 1010 framework, or the 1010 My STIE framework from the website, from Ministry of Science, Technology, Innovation website, um, citing an example of how all these different technology, science and technology drivers, making an impact in the agriculture and forestry. Yeah. So the idea is to look at this framework guides the government agencies, the funding agencies in providing assistance to researchers in these areas that have been aligned towards making an impact in agriculture and forestry. Yeah. So this is not only to increase the quality and global competitiveness of the sector in agriculture, but also to give birth to new sub-sectors such as agro-business, agro-technology, agro-financing, yeah, and with a strong science and technology driven agriculture sector, we would have a positive multiplier effect on other socioeconomic drivers as well. One example would be the halal economy. Yeah? So if you take a look at the document, you can see several examples of how it was illustrated in a case study, how the 1010 My STIE can be utilized to develop next generation technologies. They've identified the catch-up or incremental technologies from smart plants with embedded biosensors, for example, and how they would contribute to different be contributed by different science and technology drivers, for example, sensor technology, advanced materials, advanced intelligence systems. Yeah, there are examples of how blockchain technology being used to trace compliance and accountability in ensuring uh, uh, food technology and safety, for example, food security and safety. Yeah, and they've also identified several sort of leapfrogging technologies that would really make destruction identified as the next generation research and application. For example, how one would use real-time multimodal data collection and discovery via advanced drone or biosensors for identifying optimized parameters for agriculture, for example. Yeah. So it's a nice document to look at, and one would be, I guess, inspired to see how various different technologies can come and work together in order to drive a particular socio-economic driver and make an impact in that area. Of course, it's also very important, as I highlighted earlier, collaboration with the right stakeholders to realize any of these output or any of these outcomes to eventually make an impact. Now, besides looking at how various science and technology drivers contribute to agriculture and forestry, there's also this thought about how agriculture and forestry innovation can be integrated with other sectors. So if you look at smart technology and systems in manufacturing, for example, and environment and biodiversity and energy, there is a potential to have integration of gene-edited algae farms, for example, yeah, with industrial plants to automate carbon capture systems for biofuel production. So there's a lot of cross-germination of technologies and ideas and innovation that can crisscross and contribute to a positive impact in the country. Now, what we have also done at the university was to provide a platform for our researchers coming from various backgrounds, from engineering and computer sciences to business and management to creative multimedia, all the way to law and communications. Yeah, for them to come together and work in various research programs under 8 research institutes, ranging from digital cities, digital society, all the way to digital expression. So when we put them together, there's a lot of cross germination of ideas and thoughts and innovation towards addressing particular issues and coming up with innovation solutions for those challenges. Yeah. To cite a few examples here is one that was undertaken looking at the aging society, yeah, in particular, the health and well-being of the third age, collaborating with the University of Malaya, getting support from the Kementerian Pembangunan Wanita, Keluarga dan Masyarakat, yeah, looking at a study in developing an app particularly for the warga emas or the third age. Yeah, so there were various research projects looking at entrepreneurial mindset development through intergenerational crowdfunding, looking at study on the scope, content, and approach for the establishment of a senior citizens act by the ministry. So you can see how a movement or a research program can be developed by collaborating, especially with the stakeholders and various other contributors, collaborators, in striving towards making an impact in society. A bit more science technology flavored here. You can see one program that was undertaken by the Digital Lifestyle Research Institute, looking at integrated geohazard management. A group of researchers working on remote sensing. They were looking at signal processing and simulation towards predicting landslides. Yeah, and working with Chiba University in Japan, working with the what used to be called MICRES, but the Malaysian Center for Remote Sensing, which is now MISA, Malaysia's space agency. So all looking at different technologies from antenna to SAR development to the use of UAVs in predicting landslide using machine learning. Yeah. So you can see how an ensemble of various technologies and policymakers, stakeholders, researchers coming together to solve a challenge pertaining to climate action. Now, coming back a bit on the university's research management overall, we have undertaken an approach where we look at a value chain leading to what we call as humanizing innovation. So the idea of humanizing innovation is that if we were to look at innovation, it should not be for the sake of innovation, but rather it is of a humanizing approach and humanizing target or eventual delivery for the use of mankind. That would be the end users. So it starts with an ideation process, which undertakes a lot of engagement, a lot of collaboration, a lot of studies with the end users, with the stakeholders. Yeah, and that makes the idea more relevant, and hence at the pitching level, when we talk to various stakeholders and agencies, it would be more appealing to be funded. And once the projects are approved and funded, it goes through a process of providing or provisioning of project resources and executing the project up until the delivery of the project, where you will have several outputs, from publications to IP, that eventually then leads to prototyping and commercialization of the research project. Now, if we were to dive a bit further into the commercialization value chain, we undertake, a bit of scouting and looking around at the university faculties, how different final year projects are being carried out, and we have a lot of awareness programs to encourage our researchers to ensure that their projects are of commercial value that can have impact in society. We also provide a lot of IP clinics talking about intellectual property, the importance of protecting them. Yeah. And as these projects have been identified, they are put through a series of assessment, particularly the technology readiness level assessment, looking also at the service readiness assessment, especially for those in social sciences. These projects are further polished towards prototype development. They are polished further to be prepared to enter exhibitions and put into competitions, and some have been identified to have potential in establishing startup companies or spin-off companies of the university. Now, moving on from the projects that have been identified having potential for commercialization, we further nurture these groups of researchers working on these projects in developing a business plan. If one was to establish a startup company or a spin-off company, how would you go about commercializing it? So hence the business plan. They are also nurtured towards developing a MVP, a minimal viable product, TRL5 or TRL6 prototype that can be shown, that can be demonstrated, that would be displayed at exhibitions and showcased at various platforms, be put on our IP mall. So if you have an opportunity and time to visit our ipmall.mmu.edu.my, and eventually these groups of researchers are groomed towards establishing their own startup and spin-off companies. Now, at the end of the chain, we call this the hatching process. This is where we work a lot with industry. If one was to commercialize the IP, so in the form of IP licensing, or maybe some are also in outright sale of the IP. There's also a lot of collaboration with industry, working together with them to produce a market-ready prototype. So sort of the TRL 6, 7, and 8 kind of level, acquiring certification, making it suitable and ready to enter the market. So this is towards the end, I guess, to conclude what I was sharing from the beginning, our short journey and little experience in pushing the agenda of making research impact in Malaysia and regionally. So the idea is to have more collaboration engagement with not just partner universities, institutions, but also with industry, in engaging the stakeholders, understanding their challenges and pain points, so that the innovation that we come up with is fit for use. And in short, as what I was mentioning, the tagline we use for this journey, humanizing innovation. Now, in doing so, it's very important to develop sort of a T-shaped mindset among our researchers and students. Not only do they go deep in the areas that they specialize in, but there must be some form of appreciation in adjacent areas or domains. Somebody who is in nanotechnology needs to have some appreciation in economy, appreciation in legal aspects of nanotechnology to be able to push forward this agenda for research impact. Hence, the need to have a multidisciplinary research approach and be collaborative in that approach as well, because one cannot possibly be mastering in all areas. So we do have to complement each other, work together, collaborate, and in order to collaborate, we have to do a lot of engagement. And I've also talked a bit about the commercialization ecosystem, or the value chain that we undertake to drive our researchers from idea to running a project, a program, and nurturing them towards commercialization. Hence, developing the prototype, the business plan, and eventually to commercialize by way of IP licensing or outright sale, or even establishing startup companies or spin-off companies. Yeah, so that's a little sharing from my side, from us in MMU on this agenda of making research impact. I hope you have enjoyed this presentation, and hopefully to be inspired as well. I welcome any questions, any interest to collaborate with us. Thank you again for your attention. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you. Take care and be safe.